towards Hagar. Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant! I don't believe it! I swear I do not believe it! And they are back on terms!
Hello and welcome to the Rotherham United podcast. It's another defeat we're going to have to talk about. I feel like all we've talked about all this season, extenuating circumstances, but there's some more. So we're going to talk through the 2-1 defeat to Middlesbrough on Wednesday night. We'll get into it in a minute. We're live on YouTube again, so if you listen to the podcast, you may hear some comments. We'll get some people's comments in from YouTube, get them involved as and when, if and when those comments come through. We have the same team with us. So Mick is with us this evening. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
And Ben is with us as well.
Hello.
Ben's trying to get a job as Kieran Sadler's body double. Bearing in mind the exact same hair.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything. That got pointed out to me yesterday. I did think it. But then I don't see what my hair looks like in third person. So.
I suppose. If you're interested in what your hair looks like, it looks exactly like Kieran Sadler's.
His looks like more thinner than mine, I think, and shorter. But
He might be trying to be harder than you.
This is an interesting football podcast, boys, isn't it?
You know, just start that way. We are going to talk about the game on Wednesday night, and we are going to talk about panels on Saturday. But as we're a football podcast, we're going to briefly have a very brief chat because it's been talked death this week. Give our views on the Super League, the failed European Super League. I'm sure Ben and Mick. I was on the Northern Monkey this week, and we literally talked for an hour and 10 minutes about it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
So. Mick, less than 5 minutes on this, but I think it's important because it could have affected our club in the end. Mick, thoughts on it?
I'm a touch disappointed, if I'm completely honest, because I would love to have got rid of those 6. That would have been brilliant. Get rid of them. We don't need them. We don't want them. Because all that is going to happen, in my view, is it'll just come in through the back door, won't it? There'll be another. You know, we've got Project Big Picture where all those 6 get twice as many votes as everybody else, or whatever. Something else will come in, and all it's going to do is continue to propagate clubs spending way beyond the means, and the fans will suffer in the end. Ultimately, it doesn't matter whether it's a European Super League, a British Super League, or Project Big Picture, whatever. It's got nothing to do with us. Ultimately, we're not counted in it. I don't think
it would have affected just if the Premier League, if the Big 6 left, the Premier League money would have been less, which means the Championship would have been less. But go on, Ben.
Big 6.
Very briefly.
Big 6.
I'm using the name they gave themselves.
3 of them in the top 6. I think Leicester are probably a bigger club than Arsenal at the minute. West Ham are not big club, doing probably 10 times better. West Ham are. Yeah. I don't even know who's in the top 6. Spurs. Listen, I've got a lot of respect for Mourinho because I've heard the rumour is that he didn't take out to the training field allegedly. But listen, man, it's just like I find it funny because I can't remember who I said it to. It's just like when you're younger, right, and you get told off and you go, "Oh, I'm running away." It's like that because they wanted more money for the Champions League, so they do something stupid. Oh, I'm running away. I'm never coming back, and then it come back and it's folded. They just want more money from Champions League.
It is pathetic.
They're all been removed from the Premier League committee as well, haven't they?
It's backfired. The good thing is it's backfired completely. They look like absolute mugs. People have rightly lost their jobs. You know, it's just not working class people that lost their jobs, which is a bad thing. These are already millionaires, potentially billionaires, some of them that have lost their jobs. It was for me a great week for players who stood up and countered. John Henderson, Aaron Maguire, Marcus Rashford, some big players stood up to the big boys, to the owners, and a lot of fans did, thankfully. And it's gone away. Like Mick says, it may come back at some point in future in a different form. It was the closed shop that was the issue. We haven't got a clothes shop. And if you want to revamp something, I'm all for it. Let's modernise everything. Modernise football's fantastic, but you've got to have a competition, and that was the problem for me. Anything you two want to add more than that? Well, so we move on now.
Yeah, move on.
Cool. Sure. The only one of the only good things about the European Super League, it completely took my mind off Rotherham United for a couple of days. I did not think about the relegation battle for about 72 hours, and it was glorious.
It came crashing back pretty quickly, didn't it?
Yeah, it came crashing down about 20:06 on Wednesday night. Is when reality hit. We'll start with the good Ben. The first 18 minutes of the game, we were marginally the better team. 1-0 ahead, thanks to Angus MacDonald. We were looking pretty good. We were looking solid. There were no real issues, were there, up until the incident? No,
there wasn't. I thought we were playing well. Obviously scored. But you can't really judge 18 minutes. We looked good, but it doesn't matter if you look good.
We look back to being that. We had that bit of aggression back, that bit of confidence, a little bit of a swagger, not much, but a little bit. And that second minute goal obviously put us well and truly on front foot. And I'm absolutely convinced we'd have gone on to win that game. I'm convinced, 100%. For me, I thought we were on top, and I thought we would go on to win it, given that early goal. And Middlesbrough's sort of lack of interest really until what happened. They weren't really bothered, were they? They didn't appear to be. I mean, and I think it had played out fine. But after the decision, that was it. I mean, Middlesbrough had no choice but to go for it. They couldn't sit back. Even if they'd wanted to, even if Warnock had told them to sit back, they couldn't. You know what I mean? Not under those circumstances. So yeah.
So the way we'll start. Ethan's Polish as will start us off. Evening's still sharing us yesterday's result. He messaged Mick earlier about Mr. Bond, and let's just say I was going to use some stern words. So I had somebody direct message me earlier, Mick. Luke Richardson messaged me like yesterday and said, looking forward to Mick's assessment. I said, we may need a bleep machine. Are you able to talk about Darren Bond's performance yesterday in a relatively non-swearing manner?
It took until 3:00 this afternoon at work for somebody to dare ask me what's right I'd gone. And to be fair, I did manage to give 90% of my explanation of it without swearing, which I was very, very pleased with. I mean, I was quite proud of that. And I did point it out afterwards as well, just to make sure that everybody realised I'd not swore for. We had this conversation after the Sheffield Wednesday game, didn't we? About him. And then I think, and I might be wrong, but I don't think I am, the following Saturday, read all over the Barnsley podcast, had exactly the same conversation about him.
Did
it? Because he did exactly the same thing to them. We come to last night, and I know I suspect I know there are a few people who have a different view to me on this, but I don't know what to say. I'm really struggling. I'm really, really struggling because it was a diabolical decision. It was the decision of a man who, in my view, doesn't seem to even understand the game, and I'll tell you for why. Because that injury, which is not a great injury for the lad, I accept.
Terrible injury, really bad
for the Birmingham defender. How in anybody's mind, Middlesbrough player, sorry, my apologies, Middlesbrough player. How anybody, I mean, I've watched this back time and time and time again. Okay, I just cannot see it. I can't. At no point does Matt Crooks take his eye off the ball.
He does. We're not doing that. He does.
Well, I watched it.
He does, but he takes his eye off the ball so early in the action because he needs to know where the player is. He needs to be aware of roughly where he is, so that the look is almost before he turns and starts backing in. It's so early that technically he does look back, but not really.
At what point? I mean, does he look at that player at any point that he is running towards the ball?
Yes.
It's more of a periphery check, I think.
No, I need to clean these then because I'm not seeing it. But either way, the injury is caused by a clash of heads, which can happen at any point. He's gone for the ball with his head. There is no way there is any intent there whatsoever. There is no way on this earth that is a red card. Absolutely none at all. And I'm not having it. I'm not. I just don't see it. And I look through people from clubs across the country who've commented on this on the Sky Sports thread, and there's it's 95% saying it's an absolutely atrocious decision. Yeah. But the thing that does it for me with this, it's not necessarily the fact that he's made a mistake. The fact that, again, as it was with Michael Smith, before either player's hit the ground, he's got that red card out. He's made his decision immediately, and I just, there's part of me, there's the 12-year-old in me that thinks, you know what, he's got face on because he had that rescinded last time, so he's going to do it again. But 4 red cards up until before last night. He's given 4 red cards, and all of them have been rescinded.
Yeah.
Do we need to say any more? But the problem with this is, and I can see from the comments, John Merrill, the Barnsley fan, Birmingham fan. Sorry, John, you can be a Barnsley fan if you want, but not Saturday. We had a conversation on Twitter about it earlier on, and I've completely lost my train of thought now. Oh yeah, it's the we're 20 minutes into a game, we've got 70 minutes to play. With 10 men, having just played 7 games in 12 days or whatever, they're absolutely out on the feet after 60 minutes, and these are the sorts of decisions that change seasons. Yes, we shouldn't be where we are. It's our fault that we're in this position in the league, but John was saying on Twitter they're counting 13, 14 points this season that have been taken away from them for bad decisions. God only knows. We're in a similar boat. I would guess that could cost us. Yes, I accept losing to Wickham could also cost us. I accept losing to Birmingham, losing to Coventry could also cost us. But that is down to the players' performance. That is something that is within our control as a club. What happened last night is completely outside our control, and it's done by a person who should be competent enough to do his job properly, and he's not, and he's proved it before last night's game. He's already proved it, and yet he still gets put in charge of a game of that magnitude to one of the clubs. It beggars belief. It does, honestly. And if I perform like that at work, if I make 4 decisions like that have to be overturned, I'm out on my backside. I am out on my backside, and justifiably so as well. A joke. Yeah. Is a joke.
I always say, Ben, and I genuinely believe this, when it comes to straight red cards, try not to give a straight red card. I don't want to see a referee give a straight red card unless he absolutely has to. Because in any circumstance of the game, it's going to change the game. I don't think, Ben may disagree with this, I don't think he needed to give a red card. If he'd have not given a foul, nobody would have said anything. If he'd have given a foul and booked him, nobody would have said anything. But because he's given a red card, it then becomes a talking point. He didn't have to send him off, did he, Ben?
I can see why he's giving it. I don't really want to sit and argue.
But did he have to?
Did he have to do anything? No.
Well, but that's the question.
You don't have to get out of bed in the morning. This is the question. You can go so deep with that it's not even a question anymore. So I think, that's the question.
It's about football. In terms of the law of the game and the rules and the laws, whatever you want to say, was that 100% nailed on red card? Because for me, dangerous. In what way is it dangerous?
Because he's running, right? Crooks is a big lad. He's running. Yeah. And he's gone in like this. Whether they've elbowed him or not, he's gone in like this.
He hasn't elbowed him.
The ball. Okay, he's gone in like this. I said this. The Mick said, "Oh, you did touch it." If I am a gunner, shoot it and miss you, I didn't touch it. Still dangerous. Innit? If I go in like this, running and jumping at a header, like this, right? Cooks is a big lad, and I can see why he's giving it. I'm not
That bit.
going to sit here and argue, but I can see why he's giving it. In my world, it's probably not a red, but
He's
at the
giving
same
it.
time, it's dangerous.
He gave it for, I can't remember the exact word, Mick, but effectively violent conduct with his head. He hasn't given it for the elbow.
That was the decision that came out at the half.
It weren't violent conduct. I can't remember the exact word of it. It was sort of dangerous play with his head, which is what he said. What apparently that's what he sent him off for. Was it violent conduct with his head?
I don't know. Maybe because he's running a lot. It's running at a lot of speed, and that guy is standing still. It's a very dangerous header to go for.
So let me give you a different set of circumstances then, Ben. So we get one of our corner routines is that all the players line up at the edge of the box and go charging in and hope they're going to somebody's going to get a head on it. Okay, so we've got Richard Wood sprinting like Richard Wood can. Let me tell you, he can sprint. From all right. Richard Wood jogging in from I don't know 5 or 6 yards outside the box. To head a ball on the 6-yard box. So he's got all that momentum behind him. He goes in, he jumps up, he tries to head the ball and he clashes heads with somebody.
Like, what's his face? Raul Jimenez did this season. When Raul Jimenez fractured his skull.
Yeah. What's the difference? The only difference is that he's permanently looking at the player that he's aiming towards. That's the only difference. It's a clash of heads. Clashes of heads happen.
It's a bad clash of heads. Bear in mind,
absolutely. It's a sickener. It's a real sickening clash of heads. But there is no way that can be classed in anybody's book as far as I'm concerned, and even by the letter of the law or rules. Sorry, because they're not laws, they're rules. They might want to call
the
them
laws.
The rules.
Laws.
The rules are not enacted by government, are they? They're the rules.
They're enacted by the governing body of football.
Yeah, but they're not government, are they? So they're not laws, they're rules.
The government of football.
Look, I'm on my soapbox, mate. Yeah, it's a joke, Darren Bond.
I just want to end that on. I still think it's a red card, so you can talk about. Anyone who's watching this, if you have a problem, I think it's a red card. I just want everyone to know that.
Fair enough.
At worst, it was reckless. And reckless is when a player acts with disregard to the danger or consequences for an opponent and must be cautioned. It was reckless. It was not aggressive. So the number 3 one is using excessive force when a player exceeds the necessary use of force or endangers the safety of an opponent. Actually, they sort of contradict themselves, actually. Those two laws of contradict each other. But the one that fits in there is reckless. It's not being. John Mellis is aggressive and is endangering an opponent. It definitely wasn't aggressive. I can see how you say it was an endangering opponent.
I agree with
that. But by that logic, every single header is an endanger to an opponent.
It's not, though, is it?
Well, it is. As you saw with Raul Jimenez as a perfect example this season. Nothing wrong with it. Both players did perfectly well.
It's a different situation.
How is it?
They're both running towards the ball and jumping for it. This guy's coming towards the ball.
Yeah.
These are coming. Crooks and Smith. Crooks and that guy. This. Raul Jimenez and David Luiz.
They came across each other. They came across each other.
Yeah, they weren't running towards each other.
Well, Raul Jimenez was stood still.
They weren't running towards each other. Raul Jimenez was jumping towards the ball. It's a different situation.
They both challenged for the ball.
I'm not going to say it. I'm just saying. I think it's a red card. I agree with that comment.
Crooks almost won the header. It's not a red card. Not in a million years. And it will get overturned. But the problem is, Mick, the damage is done.
Yeah. Ultimately, whether it is or isn't a red card is a moot point. The bottom line is we have to play 70 minutes with 10 men. With a team that's already blowing out the backsides because of the amount of games that we've had to play. So it's the fact that the decision was made in the first place. Let's assume it's not. Let's assume it is a red card. Why does their first goal stand?
Well, let's move on to their goal, Ben. Their first goal from a corner, which is a moving ball.
No. Yeah, listen, I'm not trying to justify any of these decisions, right? If we go down, it is 100% our fault, 0% the officiant's fault. 0%. We were not good enough this season. We just weren't. I don't care.
Let's talk about the individual game.
All right. It was a moving ball. We weren't good enough this season, but it was.
So the goal shouldn't have stood, should it?
Probably not.
No, there's no question about it.
It's probably not. No, it's probably not. But once that ball goes into play, you play football. Yeah. It was poor defending after. It was awful.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Conceded.
Not defending that, but it shouldn't have been taken. And if that corner's not taken, they don't score.
Nitpick about officials. I hate when people. Oh, you can't see. Listen, if the game were played perfectly, we'd be in the Premier League, but we're not, and that wouldn't be fun. It just wouldn't be fun. Oh, it really bugs me. If the game was officiated perfectly, the game wouldn't be.
We don't want it ref perfectly. We want it ref competently. Moving ball, as you very well know.
It's the tiniest thing.
It's one of the most basic things in football. It's up there with handball. It's one of the most basic principles. When you have a set piece, the ball must be stationary. That's not an if, that's not a but. The ball must be stationary. It wasn't stationary. So therefore, it was an illegal corner.
Poor defending. That's why I put that goal down. So I don't put it down to anything else except poor defending.
Hey,
I think it's immature to blame the referees and say these decisions. It was poor defending. We shouldn't have conceded, and I blame the defence. Nobody else.
There you go. Listen, I can't argue with the fact that the defensively that was poor, and it was poor for the second goal. Poor from Victor, from Johansson. I think but. I don't know. It's very difficult. I find it very difficult now after the period that we just had to start criticising players too much for the decision making based on the fatigue and everything else of the games, and it's really difficult. I mean, Smithy was absolutely.
He could barely run.
He was completely running on empty by sort of 60, 65 minutes.
Without him, so.
Yeah, he was, and you've got to feel for him. You've got to feel for. I feel for him anyway. It's been really, really tough, and they're going to be hurting just as much as we are. There's absolutely no doubt about that. As a group of players, and as a team, including the management team in that, they're going to be hurting probably more so when you think about the physical commitment that they've put in over these last couple of weeks. Which is where my frustration comes from with the likes of Darren Bond. That's where my frustration comes from as much as anything else. That these players, it is their life, it is their working life. Us as supporters, it is our life. They do it for a job. And they're not competent at it. I accept people are going to make mistakes, but I want competence. And that's why I get so frustrated. It's not an easy job. Nobody's saying it's easy. I would never, ever claim to be able to do that job. However, I could do it a damn sight better than some of these championship referees. 100%.
I highly doubt that.
Well, I'd give it a go.
We've mentioned certain people say we complain about the refs a lot. We haven't mentioned the last 3 or 4 referees that we've had. They've been perfectly fine. I think since the Millwall game, everyone says the Millwall game, the referees have been basically fine. There's been absolutely no issues. If anything, some of those referees had really, really good games, and at the time we praised them because I think it's very important to praise referees when they have a good game for reasons like this now. The referee has made our job 10 times worse last night. We may well still have gone on to lose the game. We'll talk about some individual performances in a second because there was a couple of bad ones. But then it's difficult to talk about the bad performances because then the whole system was changed. They've been drilled for 2 days on how to play this system. Sadler is a good example. Sadler's playing right wing back. So he's had 2 days off. Right, you're playing right wing back. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. Make sure you do that. Make sure you remember this position. Make sure you do that. And then within 20 minutes, his job has gone. He can't do the same job. So the 2 days worth of preparation has now gone. It's ruined. So he's got to forget all that and then go and do a different job. I accept sadly it wasn't very good yesterday. But that's the sort of impact it has, not just on going down to 10 men, because that's obviously difficult enough as it is. We end up having to play Michael Smith on right wing last night. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Which you could have changed, by the way. That was a choice.
Yeah, that was choice, and it was a poor choice on Paul Warne's part for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sadly, Mick, where we got a comment, Ethan. Sadly, it was awful last night. We'd all been begging for it. And again, because his position changed, I'm a little bit hesitant to criticise him. But he was poor, wasn't he?
It was hardly in the game, and when he was in the game, his decision making was poor. His set piece delivery was appalling. You know, and we're not in a position where we can allow a player a couple of games to bed himself in and get his eye in. We're not in that place, and we've got a player here who's been kind of frozen out a little bit since he came back from injury, and I'm expecting him to come on there and set the game alight because he wants to fight for his place, and I didn't get that. I didn't get that. I got, for me, and it might be the set of circumstances within the game, but I got a player for me who was probably going through motions, and we can't carry that. We can't carry that.
When can you carry that?
That's a good point, Ben. Yeah.
If you top at league and the rest of your 10 players are in form, you can try and bring somebody in to try and force him back into a bit of form.
That's how you fall off top at league, though. You cannot have a lapse in
it's about helping. It's about helping squad.
We cannot make the point of referees. This is their job. They need to do this for a living. This is sadly his job. This is not some hobby he does on the side. This is his life. This is how he makes his money. And to come out there and not give it your all, which he didn't. I don't want to hear anyone say he did.
You don't know that he's not giving it his all. You can't say he's not giving it his all.
If he's out, Jesus Christ, he shouldn't play in League Two if that's his all. That's his all.
My issue with him was not his work rate. The issue was his passing was awful. His crossing was, to be fair, everybody's crossing was an absolute joke on Wednesday night, and it has been for that's 3-4 games now. My issue with any of them is not necessarily work rate, especially not last night with 10 men. It was the easy technical stuff that I thought it was just terrible at.
Yeah, my problem is not work rate on the pitch; it's off the pitch. You have good work rate off the pitch. Them technical basic things aren't hard. Look at Smithy. Look, Smithy is a perfect example. He's blowing out his eyes, can barely walk, right? And sadly, he's just strolling along, can't even do basics. He has not put the work in. How much do you want to bet right now that he does not put extra work in? I can bet my whole house on it. And it's not good enough. It's just not good enough. It isn't. There's no other words.
But you don't know that he's not. John Morrell makes a very good point. He didn't look match fit. And that's sometimes, and it shouldn't.
He's back a month. I don't know what the problem is.
There's a difference between being fit and being match fit. It's completely different. Certain players, and I don't know why, but some players will be amazing the first 5 games after an injury and then tail off a little bit. Some players take 4 or 5 full games after an injury to get back into the swing of things. It clearly looks like, I'm hoping that sadly it's one of those where he needs some games to get him back into the swing of it. Because if he isn't, then we've got a problem. John's right. He didn't look ready for the game, but we didn't have a choice. We had to play him. We had the players we had to play him.
Yeah, we've been asking for him to play, haven't we?
As a professional footballer in any sport, if you are ever not ready, why are you even in the club?
Yeah.
You are in the club to be ready. You should be waiting for that one opportunity. Come back from an injury or not, it's irrelevant. If you are not ready, I don't even want you in my club. You should be banking. You should be all of your time in the day should be preparing you to get ready. And I can guarantee that he hasn't. He was not putting in enough work. He'll be putting in work to recover, not enough. I can guarantee.
There's a difference between match fitness and doing anything else. There's nothing like playing football. You can train for 24 hours. As soon as that game starts, it's different. It's completely different.
What makes it different?
Well, you've thrown into different scenarios that you wouldn't normally get in any situation. It matters for a start.
You've got to put yourself in them. You've got to think outside the box and put yourself.
It's not.
in
You can't.
Situation.
You can't prepare. You can't prepare for a game unless you play. This is why one is talked about in loads of pre-match press conferences. He's been trying to get friendlies arranged, behind closed door games for people like Chio, for people like Sadler, for people like Matic. They need to play actual games of football against people that aren't the mates in training. They need to get games under the belt. If you listen and talk to any professional football I'd ever heard talk about professional footballer, the thing that they talk about the most is getting games under the belt, especially after injuries. They need to be playing minutes. They've got to play minutes. And that's not going to help Sadler. I'm not defending Sadler's performance last night because I thought it was bad. And it's clearly of a degree down to him. But he clearly needs the minutes under his belt. Chio's exactly the same. Chio was better last night, but he's desperate for minutes. You can see how rusty he is. He needs them minutes under his belt, but we can't fit him in, can we? And that's Sadler's problem. Sadler has sucked a little bit between a rock and a hard place. He needs to play minutes to get better, but he can't have the minutes because he's not playing well enough.
Well enough, yeah. It's difficult. It is difficult. I get where Ben's coming from up to a point. I really do. I don't know whether I'm saying this based on the rumours that have gone around in the past about his commitment to whether he wants to be here or not. So maybe my thought process is clouded a little bit by that. But it does strike me as a type of player who probably doesn't put in as much work as others when it comes to the training ground and everything else. And I suspect that possibly is why we haven't seen so much of him, because they are expected to. And I'm sure that the management team will not play players who don't put the same amount of work in on the training pitch. And I wonder if he does fall into that category. I don't know. Or he might just fall into category you've just said there, Matt, that, he just needs game time. He just needs game time. What I would say is he has had some minutes on the pitch. And he had quite a bit last night. Obviously, not the full game, but not far off. Chio has come back, and as you say, quite rightly say, he does look rusty. But I have seen an improvement in the 10 or 15 minutes that Chio's had on the pitch in the last two games. From the first minute that he came on from coming back to last night, there's a definite improvement over a shorter period of time. But we know that Chio's work ethic is going to be there.
I'd say it's possibly easier for Chio because he's got pace to rely on. If Chio's net, he could just knock it and run, which he did once or twice last night. Sadly, he hasn't got that pace. He was poor. Yeah. I'm not defending him too much. It was. It wasn't the worst. But Ben, I am going to come to you on this one because somebody's put something here which you've been talking about for a while. I agree with you. What's happened to Ben Wiles? Always going down too easy, looking for free kicks, is better than that. Number one, Ben is better than that. And number two, it's got to the point where he's just started throwing himself around when there was nowhere anywhere near it. It's not even like there's been a bit of contact and he fell over last night. It was just going down.
To be honest, I didn't see any difference from 3 months ago. I've been banging on about this every game. I genuinely don't see... It's appalling. It's not football. It's embarrassing. It's immature. I don't know. I hate it. It's not football. People make fun of our sport because of people like that. Like, they just do. And it's atrocious. I don't like it. It puts his rating down for me.
It's frustrating, Ben, because as it just said, it's better than anyone else. He doesn't need to do it.
No, yeah, he's a good player, man. It's the same with Grealish. Like, he's a good player. And Ronaldo. Ronaldo don't do it much anymore, but it's the good players. Like, they are good football players. They just dive, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, I see when a player dives, it's like it goes down in my head. He just goes down automatically, and I start to dislike him as a person. It gives an insight of what kind of person they are. You can judge someone on how they play a sport, and it's not good at all. I don't like it.
No, that's fair enough. AJ Miller points out something we've talked about the podcast and mentioned before. You question whether Sadler even wants to be here effectively. Interesting to see if he stays in the summer. We've got 5 games till the summer. He could end up leaving for one reason or another. Let's wait and see. He could have gone in January because obviously they were injured. Interesting. AJ Miller also mentions, Mick, why do we not put a cross when near the goal, when there's players in the box, instead of pulling it back to the box? I think the reason for that, Mick, and I might, you feel to correct me if I'm wrong, is because our crossing for the 3rd or 4th game in a row was nothing other than the goal itself was atrocious.
Yeah, it was. The approach play has not been great at all. You know, I mean, you look back to those goals that we scored against QPR. Okay, and it was all about composure on the ball and a bit of movement off the ball. Not much, but a little bit of movement off the ball. We're not doing any of that. There's no composure on the ball at all. We're panicking. We're panicking in the situation because of the situation that we're in. It's panic stations, and whether that be in a wide position trying to get the ball in the box or whether it's just trying to maintain possession in midfield, it's just panicky. It does concern me. It does concern me. I'll be honest. I don't know as I can see Derby winning another game this season. They are just as bad. But having said that, I genuinely at the moment, and I hate to say this, I can't see where our next win's going to come from. The only upside for me is the fact that we're not playing at home for a couple of games.
Yeah.
You know, how ridiculous is that? So,
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Finally, on the Sadler point, John C says, if Matt Busby had used training ground performance as a criteria, George Best would have never got a game, which is fair. But I know it's a different era, but it's a fair point. Some people are there for it's them sort of people you sort of say actors or sort of don't practice. I'll just do it on the night, and sometimes I think that's less nowadays. But you know, could very well be Bombers did perform at night, which is an issue. Yeah. A positive then. Angus MacDonald, Ethan says, man of the match, no one else come close for him. Other than a couple of distribution moments in the second half, once again, Angus MacDonald is rising above everybody in the team and being superb.
I didn't think, for me, I think Smith was man of the match because of his work ethic and his commitment. But, yeah, I mean, obviously we're crap at the start of the season. But he's all right. He wasn't.
He wasn't.
I could have done him. He'd have been in my pocket. Like, he was not good at all. He was sloppy. He was impatient. He was awful. He's good now, though. I mean, the goal, whether he touched it or not, I don't really know whether it was a goal or not. But yeah, it was good. They're good to go for it. Yeah, we're good at back. He's definitely coming into that role. That chemistry between him and Icky. Him and Woody, Icky and Woody. Yeah. You know what I mean? That little triangle is good. So, yeah, I hope he's going to stay with us for a while. They only didn't tail off at the start of the season. Because that's what will send us down if we go down this season.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, I agree. It's all performances. Yeah, I was talking about formations and switching. Again, we had a complaint. Complaint's not the right word. Or is it the right word, Mick? About that we don't criticise Warney, basically. If people criticise we don't like it. I'm going to criticise Warney now. Okay. After the red card, we played with Freddie as a central striker and Michael Smith out wide. If you are going to play that game, you need to, when you're down to 10 men, you need to have the option of going long. And if you do go long, the ball has to stick. There's no ifs or buts about it. It has to stick because your rest of your team. Part of it is they need a bit of a rest. The ball has to stay up there. Freddie can't do that. And we found the man who can do it, the man who is the best one at the club of holding the ball up, found him out on the right-hand side. Go on, Ben.
Who are you going to... What I would say is you can't put Freddie out, right? You just can't. He's not got the work ethic to come back, right? You're not going to bring Chio on, right? Because I don't even want to start on Chio's performance last night. I don't think it was good enough. Right, so that is what's his other option? Smith is the hardest worker on the club. He's going to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
You cannot play anyone else there. Sadly, he's not good enough.
You've taken away your attacking option, though. You basically have no outlet. But he's not a goal scorer. If the ball's on the halfway line, because Freddie can't hold it up, and that's not a dig at Freddie. That's not his job. That's not what he's designed to do. He's not going to get a chance to get it in box, and that's exactly what we didn't get ball in box. After the red card, almost exclusively.
Let's say we put Smith up front, Freddie on right? Yeah? They start over on that left and they score 4 more goals. Where does that leave us mentally down?
You make a change. You've got to play your best players in the right position. Bring Chio on. Bring Flojo on.
You said he's one of our best players where he played yesterday? He's not ready for 45 minutes. Yeah, where he played yesterday, he's not even starting 11.
Smith clearly weren't ready for 65 minutes because he were knackered after it. It was completely pointless putting Freddie there. We've seen it this season before. I really like Freddie. I think the way Freddie's come on over the last 10 to 15 games has been sensational. Not far off sensational. The improvement in his game is what I mean. And but he can't do that job. We've seen time and again, Freddie's not a lone striker. And if any clubs are looking to sign Freddie for next season, Freddie is not a lone striker. You can't play him up there on his own because he just doesn't work. It's a little bit of work with it because, like Mick mentioned last night, he doesn't come and meet the ball. But I mean, that's probably not work with that sort of cleverness. You had to play Smith as that central striker. He had to. And that's what ends up costing because the ball didn't stick. So every time balls come forward, they've got Paddy McNair, who I don't particularly like, but he's a clever enough defender to see that Freddie's not coming to meet. It's all Paddy McNair used to do, is just come and meet it every time. Jobs are good and ball's not going anywhere. We're not in danger. They're not in danger, sorry. AJ Miller says Freddie has pace and can play out wide, but you need, he says it needs Smith in the middle to hold the ball. You could. You could.
He's not committed. He cannot play Freddie out wide. He just can't. You just can't. You're leaving your right side vulnerable as anything. You've only got Harding out there who's played however many games. So I didn't have any problem with the decision.
I think Ben's right. I think Ben's right in the sense that you can't put Freddie out there because he won't track back. No, that's not true because he did. I just don't think he's got, not for 60 minutes, not for 70 minutes, he's not going to be able to play that role. Whether that's a work rate issue, whether that's just an ability to play in that position or whatever it is, I don't think you can put him out there. He has got pace, you're right. But for me, I would have had to. He's left him on in the hope that he can grab him a goal because he's had a sight of goal, he's scored a few, and it was more in hope than in expectation. But I do think it cost us that ability to keep possession, and I might have sacrificed Freddie rather than anybody else, and given that front row to Smithy for a while. But anyway.
Yeah.
As
AJ Miller says, he's put Wiles played left back last season. Though you could have put Wiles out there. I know Wiles had to put a game, but he could have took Freddie off, put Wiles in there, and brought. I can't remember who midfielder. There was options, McDonald, whatever. I'm not saying it cost us game, but I think it's certainly a valid question to throw at Warney to say. It felt really obvious to me. It felt really obvious when the minute it happened.
I think he made a mistake. I think he's made a mistake. Whether it's cost us a game or not is the debate that we've already had, isn't it?
Yeah. Aye. Final thoughts? Any final thoughts on the Middlesbrough game?
I'm just sick. I feel sick, and it worries me. I know we're still in a good position. Despite the fact that we've lost our last 4 or 5 games, whatever it is, we're still not in a bad position, but only because Derby are allowing that. I worry a little bit. I look at Warney's interview. I look at the way Warney's carrying himself at the moment, and to me, it looks a bit broken. It looks a bit broken to me. I just think, and I wonder if that's coming through to the players as well. It's clearly affecting him. The stress of it is clearly affecting him, in my view.
Yeah, I agree.
And whether we stay up or go down, I would not be surprised if he didn't walk away and say, "I can't do this. I can't take this amount of pressure." I might be wrong. I don't know, and I'm just going on. The sort of you see these things happening in other clubs, and you can kind of read the body language of managers. And then, he's going to be leaving. And then 2 weeks later, it happens. It just looks a little bit broken. And some of that, I think, the vast majority of that is as a result of what's going on the pitch. Whether he feels he's not capable of dealing with it or not, I don't know. I think he is. I think he is, absolutely. And I think the team are. But the confidence appears to be shot. And I worry. I do worry. I don't want this to be true, but I just can't see where there's going to be another win comes from.
From the article from the website earlier, the pre-match press conference type thing. There was a line in it which I'll read you now, which is exactly what I thought what you're saying, Mick. The line here was, I'm walking around the training ground now thinking one day I won't do this and one day I won't be the manager of this club, and I've had a really good relationship with it. I've never heard him talk like that before.
No.
And I accept we all have these thoughts about things like that, but that's to verbalise it. You might be right. I don't know. I hope you're wrong. We'll see.
I hope I'm wrong. God, I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But he's under massive, massive pressure.
Mm.
But football manager isn't.
Well, yeah, I accept that. I accept that, Ben. But if you look at the position of Paul Warne within the club, you look at the chairman that we've got and his sort of desire to succeed. You look at what both of them have done as a team to the club behind the scenes, from a playing staff point of view, from a community point of view.
It's even less reason to be stressed. He's got a
Said
community
that,
behind.
you said that, yeah, but he's under pressure. He's under massive pressure from supporters.
Who isn't?
Massive
What football
pressure.
manager isn't? I understand it's hard.
Yeah, but he's a man. He's a man who wears his heart on his sleeve. You know, he's a man who is unashamedly emotional. You know, he won't.
He's talked about that in his pre-match earlier as well.
Yeah.
He mentioned that and all.
It won't bottle it up. It will let it bother him because it does bother him. That's just how he is. I don't know. I worry. He is the right man for our club. Whether we stay up or whether we go down, he is the right man for our club, in my view. It is my opinion. I accept that.
If he walks away because he can't handle the stress, I completely disagree with that statement. He's not the right man for the club. He's not a good football manager. I don't think if he does that.
Fine.
I understand the pressure might be taking him. He's a very good football manager. If you can't take the pressure, you're not a good football manager.
Well, if you can't, well, I would argue that makes you a better manager by having the balls to stand up and say, you know what,
at the minute,
this is going to make me ill. I'm going.
You're a better football manager by not being a football manager.
No,
you're a bigger man, a bigger person.
A better man.
Cool, but I don't want a better man managing my football club. I want a good football manager.
Well, we've got one. He's still
got
got the
that
ability.
If he walks away, I don't think he's the man for the job.
I get that. I get where you're coming from, Ben. I don't necessarily agree with that.
You can't say it's not the same with a girl. Like, she leaves you at the wedding thing, and then he's saying, "Oh yeah, she's still the one." Like, no, she can't handle the process of getting married. She's not the one because she walks away.
I'm not marrying him. I'm already married.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think it's okay and a positive thing from a footballer manager's point of view to go, sometimes, do you know what, this has run its course. I've done the best that I can do with this lot at the minute. The pressure's too much. I need to step away. It won't surprise me, and this is going to a slightly different topic, that if when Warney leaves us, he'll be back at some point in future. I'd be amazed if it's a one stint time for Warney. It's that John Breckin thing, isn't it? You'll never be able to get rid of him. He'll just keep popping up one way or another, and that's sort of what I like.
Well, let's be fair. This is only speculation. I don't think. I hope to God that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see on that respect. We stay up. We put a run of 3 games together, and we stay up.
Yeah.
Everything's rosy and garden again, and that pressure and that stress goes away to a massive degree. This is £5 million to our club. This is £5 million to Rotherham United. If you'd have said that to us 5 years ago, that it would be worth £5 million, I don't think club had ever seen that amount of money. Turn that amount of money over 20 years. Well, Boothie had a lot more than £5 million, mate.
What would he have done with an extra £5 million?
Well, he just put it with his other £5 million and £5 million after that and all. But yeah, it's. Yeah, we'll see. It's not a great time. It's not a great time at the moment, but
I think it's the best time in our history.
Not for relegated.
I know what you're
saying. AJ
Miller
mentioned that this is a talk for the end of the season, but what annoys me the most, we've got the right manager. It's just we're an excellent League One team, but terrible Championship. Basically, a yo-yo team. That's annoying, but at the same time. The football fans across Europe have been saying this week, yeah, but we want the right to be relegated, and we're just taking it a bit more literally than others. It's part of football. Relegation is part of football. If we go down, we go down. If we don't, we don't. We'll still be here next year. The players will be.
Well,
yeah.
What? A lot of them won't be here. You think he's going to stay around?
I think there'll be an overhaul anyway, but that's a conversation for the post-season, or if and when relegation gets confirmed. Anyway, moving on. We have a big South Yorkshire derby on Saturday, which is a big game for both. Barnsley can confirm their playoff position on Saturday, and we obviously need a win to stay up. Mick, your favourite part of the show. The last time we beat Barnsley, Ben, was in 1982.
I remember that.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Do you remember this one? We haven't beaten Barnsley in Barnsley since 1969.
Ben?
Wow.
I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but is 1969 the year, this year? Do you know what I mean? Was that the derby year?
66.
66. Well. Anyway.
That
60s.
is what you call clutching at straws. That
it's the decade.
is clutching at straws.
Yeah. So it's a terrible record. We've lost those last three. We've picked up something like three draws out of 15 games against Barnsley. It's a really, really, really bad record. But looking more up to date, Mick. I've gone through both teams' last 15 games. Our last 15 games, we've won 3 games. Barnsley won 11 out of the last 15 games. They are a unique football team at the minute, Mick. Very unique. But I'm not going to say I love it, because I don't want to see them succeed more than us. But they found a way of playing football that suits them, and at the minute, and it's looking like it's going to bring them success.
Probably a year ago today, they were in a worse position than we are.
I think they were, yeah.
So, they managed to squeeze through on the basis of Wigan going into administration. And I'm sure their supporters were having a similar sort of conversation this time last week. So we'll have to wait and see, won't we? We're playing away from home. Barnsley are all but in the playoffs. They need to secure it. They just need to better Reading's result, which, by the way, will mean that Reading don't get into the playoffs, which means that Reading won't get promoted, which means Reading are in some serious financial trouble. Fingers crossed. The only other thing I would say about Saturday's game is 2 words I've got for you. The first one is Gavin, and the second one is Ward. Enjoy.
When have we had him before?
Yeah. Can't remember. I just know.
That little guy, wasn't it?
That was Matt Donoghue.
This season, yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember when we've had him, but I do remember saying that Gavin Ward is absolutely useless. So I can't remember what games he's... I'll find out before I end up podcast, but I know that he was an absolute nightmare.
Barnsley Ben are a very, very direct team. Extremely direct team. They tried to get the ball forward. I remember, I didn't watch the game with you at Christmas, but if you recall when we played them at Christmas, when they took their kick-off at the time, they just booted the ball straight out of play just to win a throw-in. They very much play the percentages, do what you need to do to try and make the other team on the back foot. How do you think that's going to set up against? How do you think we're going to set up? Because the game at Christmas, when we were back, when we had loads of players for COVID, we almost picked some up, didn't we?
Yeah, I can't even remember how they played. To be honest with you,
direct.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, it works. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
You think just good old classic English football, isn't it? If it works, it works. You know what I mean?
Strip to a big American player up top. Daryl Dike. Daryl Dike is on loan. He's on loan from Orlando City. 20-year-old American, 9 goals in 16 games. He's an absolute beast, Ben. An absolute beast.
American, aren't they? They're all freak athletes.
I would have sorted him out. Don't worry about that.
I will. That's why Woody didn't play on Wednesday, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, absolutely. So Gavin Ward is the Preston North End. Victor Johansson getting his head kicked off, and then having the ball knocked out of his hand for their goal.
When he fell off.
That's a concern. That's a concern.
That seems to be a bite there, Ben.
You didn't even mean to do that, though. You just said that because you thought it.
That's a slight concern because, again, Barnsley are a very direct team. As one said in his thingy, from set pieces, they try to get the ball around the crossbar. So if they're going to get the ball crossbar and we're not going to get the free kicks, then that's a bit of a concern that he may not give them. But as Ray Smedley points out, we watched Barnsley against Coventry the other night, and Barnsley lost to Coventry. So they are absolutely beatable. In that run that they've won 11 games out of 15. In that 15 games, they lost to Sheffield Wednesday and Coventry. So they're absolutely right to be talked up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're gettable.
They are gettable. There's nobody in this division that isn't at all. And we've proved that this season because some of the scalps that we've had. It's just what is the psychology in that team at the moment? Yeah. You know, where are their heads? Are their heads already down into League One? Have we given it up? Yeah. Or are they capable of pulling something out of the bag? It's not about ability, in my view. It's a little bit about tiredness and everything else, but mainly it's about what's happening upstairs. Have they got it? Have they got that fight?
I think if you don't have it, you should go and sign for a League One club.
Well,
I don't want you in my team.
If
your head is anywhere but, we're staying up. If your head is anywhere but there, why are you even playing? Why are you sit on bench?
It's just
they didn't waste the space on bench.
It's the mental strength. We could talk about this all night. It's the mental strength. If some people get kicked down, struggle to get back up, they can get back up. It might take them a game or two. And bearing in mind the mental kicking that they've been taken from the fixture list and everything else, I think that's partially why it's a bit of a point. But we'll talk about the lineup now, Mick. What do you think about the lineup today? What I think the lineup's going to be. Jamie asked, what would you guys change formation? Who would start? Wings now available, Ben.
Yep.
So if you want to put wing in your fan hub prediction this week, be valid. Mick, I assume you're all both going to go 3-5-2 because that's where we've been playing.
Yeah, I am. I don't know about you, Ben.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Who's going to play the
3-5-2?
Strongest team.
Which is?
Not you, no, sadly.
Do you want to tell me who you're going to put?
I'll go Johansson, Osunde, Ihekwe, Wood, McDonald, Matic, Wing, Wiles, Lindsay.
Well, Crooks dependent this, obviously.
And Smith and Freddy. No. Crooks is 3-game ban. If that gets rescinded, I'm going to have serious questions.
Are you going to write to EFL? You're going to write a letter of complaint to EFL?
No.
A strongly worded
email? I'm not
email?
going to be complaining, but it's going to be like... Alright, I think that's... Yeah, I'm not even going to go back onto that, but yeah.
Yeah.
No,
okay,
I don't think Crooks...
Let's leave that now. Park that.
If Crooks was available, would you play him?
No.
Okay. Is that relevant then, isn't
it?
Yeah. Ray Smedley asks, is Robertson available? Probably not, is the answer, which is a bit of a shame. Ben, you wouldn't play Harding then?
No.
Okay.
Better.
I don't even know whether Smith is going to be fit, to be honest. I think Harding is just shot.
I don't even care about being fit. I don't even care about being fit anymore. It's not at the point where it's about being fit. It's about who wants to play. No. Who would you play? Tired Smith or sadly who don't want to be there? Just a question.
Tired
Depends
Smith,
who can run.
100%. But what can a tired Smith give me 90 minutes? That's the issue.
That's the question.
Because if he can't give me 90 minutes, it's going to end up being replaced by George Hurst. And much as we've had this conversation about George, I have no problem with the lad, none whatsoever.
It's either that they'll start Hurst.
Well, I mean, that is the
I'd
other
be
option.
tempted to start him. I'd be very tempted to start. When he came on Wednesday night, he was nice and bright. His work rate was bang on. There were no questions about his work rate. And if that's what we're talking about, play George Hurst. Give Smith an hour's rest.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a tough game anyway. The Smiths may not have much to do anyway. What's the harm?
Yeah, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. It's going to be a tough choice. I'm glad I'm not making it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll all be able to criticise or otherwise. It is what it is, isn't it? Well, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. It's not a must-win game, although we could do with winning it.
Yeah, it's not far off must-win for me. It's must-win for me.
No,
it's must not lose. It's a matter of minimum is matching Derby. Minimum match Derby.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's business time in the season, so we're going to look at everybody else. Derby go host Birmingham City. So Birmingham, please God, do us a favour. The good thing is Birmingham been in good form. Derby, well, if they were 12th, you'd be saying they're on beach, but they're not 12th.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we really need Neil Warnock to do us a favour to kick Sheffield Wednesday. I've mentioned it before. It's like a dog that tries jumping on bed. Knock him off bed.
I don't think we need to tell Warnock, the ex-Sheffield United manager, ex-Rotherham player, to do that.
Yeah.
No,
I agree.
No, I don't either. I don't.
He said in his post-match, didn't it, that he were almost disappointed that he beat Rotherham, and he's told his players they've got to work extra hard on Saturday to beat Wednesday. Good old Neil.
Yeah.
Right.
Love him.
Final points. John C. George Hurst, have you all gone mad? Well, who knows?
Desperate times call for desperate measures, John.
I am convinced that he will score this season. I am absolutely convinced he's going to score. The question is it going to be a really, really important goal, or will it be a goal after we're already relegated?
Yeah.
I don't think we'll be already... Unless he scores after the season, I don't think he can score when we're already relegated. I don't think we're going to be a mathematic for last game of the season.
I hope you're right. I really hope you're right.
Yeah.
If it goes to the last day of the season, I fancy us to stay up. Because it's a one-off game. One can motivate them on a one-off game.
No matter what, I think we're still staying up. I've got full confidence in everyone at that club except for a few certain players. Except for a few. Listen, if I didn't have trust in my club, what's the point in supporting them? It's not called supporting if you don't trust them. That's all. What does support mean?
Fair comment.
You're allowed to think we won't win. You don't have to think we're going to win every game and stay up. I think we're going to struggle to stay up. I think we've not took enough chances. We've been given so many chances. We haven't took them.
Whether you think it or not, it's irrelevant. You've got to put yourself in that mindset of you will. It's irrelevant what you think.
As a sport, it doesn't matter. You can think what you want. You're not going to impact on the game.
You never know.
No, but you can have an impact on club.
Know.
You can. You've got to get behind them.
You never know what people see on Twitter, what players see on Twitter. You never know.
Yeah, I agree. I want us to. I think we can, but the players have got to play well enough. And I hope they all know that we are all behind them. We want them to succeed because they're our club, they're our players. I God hope that they keep us up. I really, really do. It's going to be difficult, but I really hope we do. And John C's probably right about that. About me needing therapy, but
definitely. We've known that for a long time, John.
Finally, score predictions. It's going to go one way or other for me. This Ben, what do you think on Saturday?
1-0 Rotherham.
Fair enough, Mick.
3-1 Millers. George Hurst 2.
God, I'd love him to get some goals. I won't, but come on, George. We really, really, for all the things we've said, we want nothing more than George Hurst to get some goals for us. I would love it if he got some goals. Or go Kevin Keegan. I would absolutely love it if he started banging some goals in. We are really, really behind him.
I would absolutely love it.
I said 2-1 before, so I'm going to stick with 2-1 win. But it's going to be a hell of a game. It may not be very pretty. I guarantee it's going to be pretty.
It's going to be it's going to be how I describe how the Birmingham game we're going to be. It's going to be like an under-12s game. And again, we're lucky that we're not there because otherwise we're going to be having sore necks, aren't we? But like watching a tennis match.
Yeah.
So
it can't be worse than last time. Remember last time I went to Barnsley then when we lost 4-0 under Studs?
Yeah. That was one of the worst performances I've ever seen.
Rotherham, yeah. That's well up there as one of the worst run performances I've ever seen. I agree. Anyway, those players at that time didn't want to be at club.
No.
I'm surprised that manager like that.
Well, yeah. Yeah. So, and Jamie says the players need to know we are all behind them. We should all go to New York Stadium and give a massive boost. Yeah.
I nearly went down to New York Stadium last night and did slash somebody's tyres. If I'd known which car he had.
Yeah, I'd be amazed. I'd be amazed if any players do listen to this. But if any players are listening to this, we are 100% behind you. We really want you to do this. And if we stay up, even if we don't stay up next season when we're back in, you'll get a hell of a reception either way. As long as you try your best, that's all we ask for.
100%.
So Ben, thank you very much. We've argued a lot again tonight. I quite enjoy arguing with you, Ben. I really enjoy it. That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Ben.
Sorry.
And Mick, thank you very much for disagreeing with me as well.
Well, I don't know whether I have, but if I have, happy days.
Yeah. We'll be back. We will be doing a post-match on Saturday. We will be doing a post-match live. That'll be back on Saturday. Podcast will be out Monday. We'll be back live on Sky again next week. So please subscribe. And on iTunes, if you get iTunes, give us a 5-star rating if you please. We would really very much appreciate that. And we'll see you all for the post-match on Saturday and then for the podcast again out on Monday morning. Cheers for watching, guys. And we'll see you very, very soon. Thank you.